Hello everybody, it's Kimberly Sheridan from Losing It with Kimberly. Glad you're with me again today. I am getting a pretty good start. It's 9:15. I got a couple things done before I got on the treadmill today. But that's okay. I didn't today, for some reason, I didn't resist coming. Like I said, I'll be here. Don't worry, I'll do it. But, today was one of those days that I didn't actually have any of the mental resistance. So that's good. Slept well and feel good this morning physically, so that's always nice, right? Yesterday I did my weights with Pandora. Like I mentioned, I haven't really had time to set aside to go back and figure out what's what with all my music that's in my iTunes account, or double accounts. And when I did try to figure it out, I ended up wasting an hour and it still didn't work. So I think that that's sort of a deterrent from me prioritizing that again. But again, there's so many other things I need to do, that are more important. So for now, I'm just going to pull up some random songs on Pandora and do my 3 exercises and get on with my day. So yesterday was, I think I got a Joan Jett song. I love rock and roll. I chose the 80s rock station. A Pat Benatar song, and I think I wrapped it up with Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine for my chest presses. I keep calling them chest presses. Actually, if I wanted to be official, when you're laying on your back and pushing weights up from your chest level, it's actually called a bench press if you're laying on your back on a bench. And really called a chest press when you're working the same muscle groups, but you're on an incline. So you're not laying on your back on a bench. Most likely you're on a machine, where you're not laying flat on your back. And for people with shoulder issues, sometimes it's a much easier thing to do it on a machine where you're not totally flat, because you're not having to work so much against gravity to push up the weights, and you're able to focus more on the actual chest or pectoral muscles to push those weights away from you when you're in a seated position, than if you are laying flat on your back and gravity is holding all that weight down, at your chest level, but also, your shoulders are having to work. Actually, it's funny when you think about getting in shape. Shoulders are one of the things that I really think don't get covered a lot. I think people just don't pay attention, but I was, very happy with my shoulders when I was doing a total body workout. I think it really it not only helps you, stand up better when you've worked all of the muscles in your upper body, but it also just, gives you a nice shapely shoulder. I don't know. Any case, right now, I can see after yesterday, it's really music. After yesterday, I can really see myself adding on more to my workout, even though it will take, extra time to do that, and I can't double dip and accomplish anything else while I'm doing that. I can see myself adding on more because I like working out, music is a thing that really energizes me. So once I turned on that music, I was like, oh yeah, I can see adding on more to this. And I think everybody's different. Well, I know everybody's different. For me, I have much less resistance to the exercise part of living a healthy lifestyle than I do the change in my eating part. I think that I've always medicated with food. I'm a stress eater. I'm an emotional eater. And pleasure. I'm not addicted to food. I do not question that. I think that there probably are people who biologically or the way their brain is wired are more apt to get addicted to it. Unfortunately, I'm not that person. because good grief, it's so hard. I think, if you listen to people talk about giving up smoking or giving up drinking or giving up food, food is in a totally different category because you still have to eat, The other ones you can, come up with a way, I'm not saying it's easy, but come up with a way to give them up completely rather than quote unquote cutting back, but we all need food. But we all need food to live every day, So I think it's much more difficult path if you have an addiction to it. For me, it's stress, it's emotional eating, but it's also pleasure. Like food tastes good, and I like to cook. I'm not a brilliant cook, but when I have the time, I enjoy the process of finding a recipe and trying it out and seeing how it turns out. When I was younger, it's funny I would do this. This isn't really great, but I think I just had so much success with recipes that I would invite people over, friends over, and cook a brand new recipe that I'd never made before. That's sort of dumb. Especially for a perfectionist, you would think, I don't know, it's like I was a different person. You would think that I would try it out and then have friends over to show them what a yummy meal I could make. But I just like trying out new recipes, and most recipes I suppose aren't made for one, and so I'm trying to think. I definitely did it when I was single, but I think I did it when I was married too. However, my husband traveled 5 days a week, every single week, for the first 3 or 4 years we were together, before we were married also, but 3 or 4 years we were together, he was always gone. So, which sort of, I was thinking the other day, sort of accounts for why we didn't actually go to therapy, but still, weren't doing great at the beginning of our marriage, because he wasn't there. So, quite easy to push aside your issues, and when they breeze back in, you don't want to deal with what issues are there because you're together for a day and a half and then they go back out. So I think that once I think that once he was there all the time, it's when it was really like shining this big bright light on the fact that these are things that you really need to seek therapy for, which ultimately wasn't enough. But hey, that's life. Things happen in life. I do not regret that at all, actually. But I would love to have friends over and just try something new. Find a new recipe I thought looked good, try it out with my friends. I guess it's a good thing that they turned out most of the time. I think, like I said in some other day, talking with you, I subscribed to Cooking Like magazine for decades. Until they went out of business, essentially, or I'm sure they're not out of business, the big publishing company's still out there, but until they stopped producing that magazine. And, their recipes were good. And so, I can't even remember a big failure of trying something new and it turning out terribly. There would be maybe some that, were like, oh, that was okay, but I wouldn't make it again. But I don't really remember any big failures on that front. In any case, I can see, me adding, to get back to my original point, I have much less resistance to working out than I do changing my eating because I like food. But I can see me, for the workout portion at least, adding on little by little, adding on exercises little by little, to sort of try to seek a balance of not taking up too much more time, but still continuing, to climb up the ladder of improvement. And I think I mentioned that, doing the arm exercises, one set of 12, I haven't felt any soreness from the bicep curl shoulder press combo or the chest press, like zero soreness. It's only one set of 12, but it is a weight that, feels challenging in the moment. But I think the deal there is that I'm working muscle groups that I am working doing daily living things, like carrying groceries or picking up boxes or, carrying laundry baskets or, whatever else I'm doing around the house. I think that, I'm using those muscle groups enough that they're not getting sore when I'm doing this one set of exercises. However, the single leg deadlifts, one set only, and it's single leg, so you're working each leg independently, and I'm doing 12 reps on each leg. However, that one set definitely did make me sore. Not majorly sore, like let's say maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 of soreness, but just like maybe a 1 really, but noticeable, right? Like when I move a certain way or whatever, I'm like, oh yeah, I worked that muscle, yay. Actually, if you don't go crazy and get too sore, a little bit of soreness, for me at least, is actually rewarding, because every time I feel it, if I move around and I feel it, I'm like, oh yay, I did something for me, that feels good. So I'm very happy with those. And just for variety, I think I'd be more apt to next step to add on additional exercises, only one set of additional exercises, rather than increasing the number of sets of the ones I'm currently doing. The ones I'm currently doing, I think if I focus on increasing the sets, it's going to start to feel more like work, versus if I just keep adding on different exercises that I've enjoyed in the past, and ones I'm capable of doing. There are plenty of exercises I've done in my lifetime that I'm nowhere near capable of doing right now. I was just looking at a printout the other day of some exercises that I had done in previous workouts and laughed. I mean, it's just laughable how there's no way I could do some of these things. And I was like, wow, that's a stark difference. Maybe I'll be able to get back to that point. I mean, like I said another time, it's, your body's really amazing. I mean, you really can condition and strengthen your body over a period of time just by asking a little bit more of it consistently, and not letting yourself settle into a level where you're not challenging it anymore. But if you just challenge it a little bit more and do that consistently, then you're capable of challenging it a little bit more than that and doing that consistently. And like I've mentioned before, never want to stick with same workout, more than 6 weeks or 8 weeks at the max, because you always want to keep your body developing, and sometimes it might not mean changing the routine. It might mean upping your weights. It's just, you just never want to get to a point of stasis, right? So I can see myself getting back into adding little parts to my weight workout. And as I mentioned, every day, the food's still coming. We'll get to that part. But I think, even though I'm not losing weight from doing the additional cardio that I've been doing at the standing desk and on this treadmill every day, I think I likely have been eating more junk, just because of stress. Since I'm not tracking my eating, I'm not really sure that I'm eating more junk than I had been. But I'm certainly eating some every day, which even if I optimize my metabolism at this point in my life, I don't think I can get away with eating any amount of junk every single day and not, gain weight from that. Even in the perfect scene, if I'm doing everything right, I just don't think that I can eat junk anymore every day and not gain weight. In fact, I almost know I can't. Even in my later 30s, I wasn't at that point. I really at this juncture, I probably need to cut out junk altogether and have very strict meals in terms of calorie count in order to lose weight. And maybe I'll be able to maintain my weight by having more moderate meals and junk maybe once a week. I think that's probably the best case scenario I can go for at this point, but I'm just going to have to see through actually making changes and seeing what happens. Obviously, if you've listened to other days, the past decade has not been normal for me in terms of my life circumstances. And of course, for any woman, the decade between 40 and 50, there's all sorts of changes that our bodies go through. So I really have no idea, what I'm dealing with right now, like what results I'm going to get, from making X change. Am I going to get Y result? I have no idea what the result's going to be. And first 40 years of my life, I did, it was pretty predictable. So all I can really do now is what a lot of people can do, which is just, try different things and see what results you get, and then do more of the things that are working for you. And then if I do all the things I know to be right, and I'm not seeing any change, then I'm going to seek help from a doctor, because something's wrong with my metabolism, or some health conditions impacting my metabolism or whatever. But I'm hoping that's not the case. I'd much rather not be on medication, and which is why I've avoided medications for so long. But I think, there's other health implications. If I have a thyroid problem, there'd be other health implications that have nothing to do with weight, that I would want addressed with medicine. So if I need it, I'm going to take it. But I'd like to see what the truth is, about what I'm able to accomplish without medicating anything. As you know, my biggest limitation to making changes in my life are both time, like physical time, with everything competing for the same chunks of time in my day, and mental attention. When you have your brain being pulled in 16 different directions all day, every day, mental attention is hard to focus in on particular areas, so you just end up doing a disservice to everything you're working on. So time to exercise, I need time to meal prep. But of course, then you throw in emotional eating, right, from stress, and that's like real results. Like, of course, if you eat, 700 calories of junk a day, you're going to gain weight, that's, let's see, 700, well, if I did 500 a day, that would be a pound a week. But like if I ate 500 more calories a day than I was burning, right? That's a pound a week. So 700, I'm not going to do the math. That'd be a lot. That'd be more than a pound a week. So that's understandable, right? That's real. That's what many people with a normal metabolism would experience, So another factor for me is the controlling what I control on the life circumstances front, so I'm not medicating with food, through emotional eating. In my case, and I know everyone listening has different scenarios. In my case, as many of you know, I'm responsible for my mom, who is the equivalent of, someone who has advanced physical and mental disabilities. She can't care for herself, 1%. She can't do anything for herself. She doesn't know where she is. She knows her name and she knows my name. And that's probably about it. There might be a couple other random facts in there somewhere. But that's about it. And so, when you're responsible for someone like that, the hits just keep coming. There's the emotional hit of the loss of the person that you loved, but yet they're still physically here, but you've lost them. Then there's the physical, because if my emotional piece gets ramped up too much, I end up with the adrenal fatigue and the, the body aches, the debilitating body aches where I just can't even think, I mean, I can't, it's so much pain. I can't think, can't accomplish things, can't sit up for the whole day, you know. So, oh, poop. Then there's the physical, you know, where if I have enough pain, I can't think clearly, I can't to accomplish anything, and I can't even sit up the whole day. You know, and so when you have things in your life, whether your circumstances are different than mine, obviously they are, but when you have things in your life, you know, that are pushing and pulling you that much, you know, you're probably going to medicate with something, and in my case, it's food, you know. I mean, I guess I should be lucky, right? That's nothing more detrimental than food. You know, but if the hits keep coming and you've got emotional stuff coming, you've got physical stuff coming, you have too much too many demands on your time and attention, then the money stuff, you know. I mean, I've got Medicare EOBs, or explanation of benefits, coming in frequently. You know, what each one I open with trepidation, like, you know, it says you may be billed this amount, meaning, you know, the doctor, the hospital, skilled nursing, whoever has put the, you know, the bill through the system of your insurance and your secondary insurance, and then they come back and say, all right, well, from the provider, you might get a bill for this much, right? So every time I open one of those, it's like scratching off a lottery ticket, except there's no potential upside. You know, I mean, this is like the worst lottery in the world. You know, like every ticket's a loser. You know, so you're either down a nominal amount, like you may be billed $40, you know, or yesterday, you know, I got a bill that said you may be billed $5,104. You know, I mean, most people don't have, you know, $5,000 extra dollars sitting around to put towards a single bill, which isn't the only bill, right, that you have for this, the care of your loved one. You know, so it's scary. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's coming on, you know, that's scary, but yet also losing your physical health is scary. You know, I've already experienced that, and I don't want to go back to where I was, you know. So that's my main motivation. You know, we'll get into talking about weight and scales and, you know, the numbers we see on scales and stuff like that. But I mean, my deepest, I guess, motivation is that I don't want to get back to the scary health conditions, you know, where I'm questioning whether I'm going to die before my mother. I mean, that's terrifying, you know, to think that could happen to me in my low 50s, you know, when I previously lived such a healthy life, you know. I mean, it's just terrifying, you know, and I think that I have some version of PTSD, you know, from all of this. You know, of course I can't compare it to somebody who's been in combat, but, you know, every time my phone rings, every time I open the mailbox, every time I get an email from her assisted living facility, you know, I cringe and I tense up and I hold my breath and, you know, I just feel sick, you know, and that's, even if it's not coming from her place, you know, it's just, you know, the phone ringing, the mail coming. I get emails that tell me what mail I'm going to get every day. So that email comes through, you know, it's a lot of stress that I can't escape. You know, I mean, if you read articles, they're like, these are the ways you can deal with stress. You know, you need to get rid of that stress, you know, whatever. But some of us are in circumstances where you can't, right? So I'm going to try to tame my eating and do the exercise that's going to help me. And certainly over this period of time, yeah, I've developed a lot of resilience, You know, I mean, you definitely develop resilience from difficult experiences, you know, but you've got to get free of the difficult experience before that resilience is really going to benefit you in a big way. You know, at some point you're just hanging on, right? So that's where I am right now, right? I'm just hanging on. I'm trying to make changes anyway. They're going to go slow, but I'm just going to do them consistently. You know, the same thing I'm asking of you. I'm just going to do them consistently. And so if you have things that are weighing on you, like emotionally or financially or both, you know, and you feel sort of squeezed in every direction, you know, it might be, even if you're listening to me right now, walking on the treadmill, maybe you can't do that yet. You know, so it might just be a victory to make your bed every day. If you weren't doing that before, you know, if you're experiencing physical limitations, maybe there's something very micro that you can do in the way of an improvement, you know, but it's something you can do consistently. So I spoke with someone the other day who's having trouble standing, you know, and so she can't cook her meals really because she can't stand for more than 5 minutes. And so she's worked consistently on getting up to the point where she can stand for 15 minutes, you know, and it sounds like for those of us who have no problem standing, you know, it makes me grateful that I can still stand. And I don't know all of her health limitations and what led to that. She is older. You know, but I'm grateful. You know, despite everything that I've just told you, I'm immensely grateful for the things that I can do. And I think that if you are listening and you're in a difficult place right now, you know, look to see if there's anything that you can do, whether it's related to your physical fitness or eating or not, because positive changes build on themselves because of the I'm proud of myself factor, you know. So any changes that you can make consistently right now are the building blocks toward you being able to make more changes in the future, you know, with your physical health, even if the changes you start with are totally unrelated right now to physical health. Anything that you do that you're going to be able to do consistently, no matter how small it is, you know, is going to make you feel proud of yourself that you got that thing done. And that's going to be a building block that you're going to continue to build on, you know. I mean, the key is, you know, that we're all in different parts of our journey. And if you live long enough, you know, you realize that everybody over time is going to have high points and low points. And, you know, times when things are just buzzing right along swimmingly. And then other times that things are a struggle, you know. But I definitely always have hope for the future, which is a beautiful thing. You know, I guess I have inborn optimism, you know, and so I always have hope for the future that things could get better. And that's what I hope this program is for everybody, because, you know, I mean, when you have people part of a group, they're all over the world. Every single one of us has a different story, you know, that has led us here. But I feel like working together that we can maintain that hope and that motivation and that inspiration to keep moving forward in our lives, no matter what that looks like in your own life, and no matter how slow you need to go in making those changes, as long as the keys are consistency and the ability to do whatever you committed to 99.99% of the time, right? You know, and so that's what I'm doing, and that's what I want for you. And you see me every day, or you hear me every day, I guess, you know, going back and forth. Oh, maybe I'll try this. Oh, maybe I'll try that. Oh, I tried this and that didn't work. Oh, I tried this and it worked, and I'm going to do more, you know. So I think that you have to just start where you are and move forward. That's the only, you know, start where you are, move forward, and quote unquote, do what works for you. Try things. If it works, do more of it. If it doesn't work, tweak it or drop it, you know. Yesterday, after I finished talking with you, I couldn't make it through the second half of my treadmill time without taking a break to go to the bathroom. And so I only had 13 more minutes or so. And when I came back to to the treadmill, I briefly considered just stopping there without getting my smiley face on my chart for the day for having completed my hour of treadmill time. And I can't tell you enough how important it is to be honest with yourself on your daily ritual chart, the things that you've committed to, either you completed them or you didn't, because nobody never has to see this chart, right? It's just for you. But if you start lying to yourself on the chart, you blow up the whole system. Like, it no longer works if you start lying to yourself, because the whole system is based on the idea of making those achievable, consistent improvements, right? So if I hadn't gotten back on the treadmill and finished out my last 13 minutes on my chart, instead of writing the red smiley face for completed, I would have just put a green 47 in the spot, indicating that I had done 47 minutes on the treadmill instead of doing the whole 60. I didn't do that. I got back on the treadmill because there was really no reason. I wasn't hurting. I wasn't tired. I didn't have to be anywhere at a particular time. It came across my mind, hey, what if I don't finish that? So I was like, okay, just get back and do it. Who cares? This is not a big deal. Get back on there right now. So I got back on, and actually, when I put my treadmill on pause, it starts back at 0 or 1 or whatever. So when you start back up, you still have to, push the buttons to go back up to your top speed. And I went up, I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not talking right now. I mean, I am right now, but I wasn't then. So I was like, I'm going to try and see if I can do 3.5 miles per hour instead of 3. And whether I'd be able to work that way. Really, that was my first thought, not if I'd be able to talk to you that way, but if I'd be able to work that way. So I got up to 3.5, and I put my fingers on my keyboard on my laptop, and immediately I was like, nope, that's not going to work. I can't type and go 3.5 miles per hour. So I was like, okay, let's back it down some. Let's see if I can do like 3.3. Nope. And then I thought, okay, so if I can't do that while working, maybe I'll be able to incline, right? Stick with the 3.0 and incline and try to work. I actually didn't try that yesterday when I was playing around, but I thought, okay, I wonder if I can talk, and I don't think I would try it now, chatting with you, because, it's not like I'm having a conversation with you and we're walking around the neighborhood at 3.0 or 3.5 or whatever, and we're going back and forth in a conversation. I mean, this is me talking the whole time, right? But it's also me coming up with thoughts, and I'm not sure if I can come up with any halfway coherent thoughts walking at 3.5 and talking consistently, for the period of time of the whole recording for the day. I'm not sure if I can accomplish that, but, I'll see. I'll try it one day and see if it's possible, just as a test. But for today, I'm still at 3.0. I'm still huffing and puffing, having to talk, the whole time to you. That's okay. I'm doing what I told you to do, right? I'm starting where I am. I'm seeing what's possible, and then doing what works, right? So obviously, if I want to do a harder cardio workout as I get in better condition, I'm going to have to shake things up. I could do it before I talk to you, right? I could do it before I talk to you and then have my chat with you be on the roughly second half of my treadmill time, and I could even maybe end up doing a slower walking pace while I'm talking with you if I've asked more of myself at the beginning, like if I ever do get back into running or even jogging, I probably would need to cool down more, for the second part talking to you in order to have enough breath to do it. But I'm going to keep you in the loop the whole way through, right, as to the process. You've got that already, right? You hear me all over the place. I mean, but if you looked at all the days that I've done this so far on a graph, you're going to see upward improvement, right? If you zoomed in, way in, you're going to see like zigzaggy kind of stuff. I mean, in terms of the walking on the treadmill, that's fine. But in terms of all of the changes that I'm doing right now, you're going to see, if you zoomed in close on the graph, you would see that, the Seltho one, I tried and dropped. The water one, I've missed a couple times. I considered doing it higher, but then I didn't because I didn't think I could stick with it. The treadmill walking for an hour, I've stuck with. Standing desk, I've missed some days. Not completely, but, I've had some days that weren't 8 hours, which is my commitment, that were 6.5, 7 hours. And I think I've mentioned before, on those days, I just use a green pen instead and put the number of hours I did do, right? So if you zoomed in on the graph of what I've done thus far, you would see the imperfections in there. But if you zoomed out, right, you're going to see pretty much an upward progression of improvement, and that's all we're going for here. We're not going for anything specific, and you don't have to share this with anybody ever, right? This is just for you. We're doing this all for ourselves. We're doing all of this for ourselves, not doing it at ourselves or for anybody else. And so for me on the food front, I know that I go back and forth every day talking to you. I keep going, well, maybe I'll start soon. Oh, no, I'm not going to start soon. I love food. Oh, now I have these stressful circumstances I need to emotionally eat for. And it has nothing to do with loving food. But I think that's actually a good thing because I'm verbalizing the same thoughts that many of you have in your heads when you consider making a change to your eating. Because this is, unless you are a perfect person, which I am not, you don't go saying, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm going to do, I'm doing it consistently, I've never made a mistake, and I got the result, and everything's perfect. Like I've mentioned, the closest I could come to that was when I was 20 or 20 somethings, and had no other commitments other than going to a job every day. I had a corporate job after college, made enough money to easily pay for my bills. That's pretty simple, and not many people have that circumstance as they go through life. Some people still do, and I think it's easier, but they might have other things that they're contending with, that are making their journey harder. And so I think it's pretty realistic that we sort of play around with the possibilities in our minds before we actually begin to make a change. And then even once we do start to make the change, it might be rocky. But the good news is, as part of this program, you get to hear my crazy thoughts, and you get to hear my rocky pattern as I'm going to begin on my quote-unquote weight loss journey or healthy eating journey, if we want to rephrase it to a better way that's not just focused on the number on the scale. I do always want to talk about the number on the scale, though, because it is a motivating force. It's not only motivating in that it's been programmed into many of our heads that it's a good thing to watch that number go down, but also it's measurable. It's a hard number, and while many of us go up and down a couple pounds a day or so, in general, at least over time, if you're seeing that number go down, you feel good. It's a measurable acknowledgement of your progress. Really, that's why I think I wasn't a great student, because I really didn't care enough. So I really put in very little effort. However, I did, want to get mostly A's and B's, and so I'd put in enough effort to accomplish that. And you get back a paper in all our day. I'm not done that way now. My kids, everything's electronic. But in the old days, right, we got back a paper that had a big old A on the front and a red marker, or a B plus or B even, whatever it was. And that felt good. It was like affirmation. And it was, measurable. Those grades meant something in terms of there were numeric values that were associated with each grade, and those grades got written down in a record, and they stuck with us, and there's so little of that in an adult life, and so I think that number on the scale, if the thing you're looking to improve is your weight, is reinforcing, so, but I also think it can sabotage you, right? So this morning, I got on the scale because I was like, well, I want to see what I weigh now. I'm going to change my eating soon. I didn't eat a lot of junk yesterday. Didn't eat anything overly salty. So I thought it would be pretty accurate for what my actual weight is, considering that whole, up and down a pound or two a day, 3, whatever. So today I weighed 179.2. And I say that because I have a digital scale. And I looked back on my scale. Works with an app on my phone. So I looked back, and the last time I was in the 170s was 4 months ago, So I'm not, as I mentioned, I'm not really paying attention to these things right now, not weighing myself regularly. Like, why would I do that? Because I'm eating whatever I want, so why would I do that? But because I have the app on my phone that's related, connected to my scale, I was able to look back and see that I haven't been in the 170s for the last 4 months. And so the 182 I talked about recently, I was able to look back and see that was 2 weeks ago. So that was the last time I had used the scale. But, we all know that the small changes, like from 182 to 179, that's pretty meaningless because a normal woman can vary 3 pounds. So I could easily be back up to the 182 tomorrow. When I was in my most stressful circumstances at my mom's house, I was weighing like 5 pounds different from day to day, always in the morning, always, after bathroom, but before eating or drinking anything, always wearing similarly weighted clothes. And, looking back on the day, like if I would go up 5 pounds, I'd look back on the previous day and be like, no, didn't have a lot of salt at all. This is when I was trying to track my weight and lose weight and get in shape that one time in 2016. And I think it's like from May to October. And I'll pull out all the charts at some point and figure all that out. But I could vary 5 pounds, and that's a little, that's a little excessive. I don't know whether it's excessive for everybody, but I've never gone up and down that much. But in any case, it would be quite easy for me to step on a scale tomorrow and weigh 182 again. But the thing that struck me today was the positive jolt that I had, just momentary, but I felt it. It was a positive jolt when I saw the 1.7 of the 179 instead of the 1.8 of the 182, and it reminded me how much it fuels me to see the numbers on the scale going down when I am actively trying to lose weight. And like I said, at this point, it could be back up to 182 tomorrow, whether I'm trying to lose weight or not, just because of variances in weight. But, if you are actively trying to lose weight and you're making sacrifices with food and you're putting in the hard work with exercise, to see that number on the scale going down is affirming that, hey, the things I'm doing, the effort I'm making is actually resulting in a positive movement toward my goal, and it's equally demotivating to step on the scale, right? And when you've been doing all the right things, to see that the number either isn't going down or sometimes going up, just because of the daily variances, maybe, and or maybe you have had a lot of salt, and or maybe it's a certain time of the month for you, or if you go to the gym or work out at home, obviously, and do weight workouts and aren't cutting back on food, you could easily gain weight because muscle weighs more than fat. So if you're keeping all the fat you have and then you're adding muscle, right, because you're working your muscles, over time you're going to add muscle weight, you actually would weigh more. Now you might measure less, that's just how it works, because muscle is more condensed. And so if you're working out of the gym, you're also burning some calories. So you're burning some of that fat off. Even if you're not changing your eating, you're burning some of that fat off of the calories burned during your workout. And if you were also doing muscle weight work, you would be gaining muscle mass. And so the number on the scale can go up while your dimensions, your body measurements go down. I definitely have an example of that from last year, I guess it was, 2019, that I'll pull together and add to the website once I have time to go back and revisit my history. Right now, I'm just living in the now. However, the number on the scale impacts us, right? And even if you understand logically why that number might go up, for me, I'll say, and for many of the people I've worked with, seeing the number go up is just that equal negative, not even equal to my positive jolt, but negative side. It's actually a greater negative jolt and can be a demotivator, that can really throw me off my game. I mean, for me, historically, if I was making sacrifices, not seeing a change and or seeing an increase, over time, I knew it was reasonable, to see a change that was beyond the normal daily variances or fluctuations. If I'm making all these sacrifices and not seeing a reasonable change, that's demotivating enough for me to say, well, forget it then. Why am I doing this? I'm just going to flip the other way completely and just give up, It might have only been for that day, might have been for a few days, might have been for a couple of weeks, or more. Might have been for months. It just depends on, what phase of my life I was in when that happened. But the scale can be our friend on this journey, or it can be our enemy on this journey. And so you have to figure out how, if it's serving you or not, And for me, I think, it's going to serve me if I weigh myself and see lower numbers. And the only way for me to do that is to just not weigh myself. Like once I change my food, I probably won't weigh myself for a month because the normal daily fluctuations, I'm sure one day it could be down. I'm going to lose really slowly. One day it could be down, one day it could be up, and I don't want that to impact my mental state. And even after a month, I may or may not see anything that is motivating, but I think that that's as long maybe as I want to wait before my curiosity makes me step on the scale. I think what I'll probably do is, because my scale hooks to my phone, and my phone makes a certain tone once it registers the weight and the fat percentage and all the other stuff it measures, I think what I'll do is, for tracking purposes, I probably will weight myself frequently, but I'm not going to look. Luckily, for the most part, I'm a person that can do that cannot look. I'm not saying I won't break one day when I'm feeling down or whatever, but I think for the most part, hopefully I'll be able to just get that tracked, but not look. Because if I don't weigh myself, then I won't have a history of what actually happened. And for the benefit of people in this program, and for myself, and for teaching others and other programs I have going, I want to know what happened. But I need to weigh that against, I hate puns. I need to weigh that against the demotivating factor potentially for me that might sabotage my success, right? Because that's not going to help any of us either. Anyway, this has been a very talky episode. I hope that you are doing well. I hope you've gleaned something from this conversation today that can help you move forward in your life, no matter where you're at right now. And if you are well beyond where I'm at, and you're just like doing great, this sort of just an add-on thing, to keep you in the zone, I applaud you and I celebrate you, and I hope that you just keep on going, because we're each on our own journey, each on our own paths. Just start where you are, wherever you are, and keep moving forward in micro or macro movements, whatever you can accomplish consistently. That's all I ask, right? So until tomorrow, I hope you have a great day, and I'm going to talk to you then. Bye-bye.